Hey guys, my name is Tim, part of the third period reading movies gang. The movie I chose today is Avatar, directed by James Cameron, released back in 2009. By the way, it's not the one with the kid with the blue arrow on his head, but the one with the blue people. Anyways, the movie starts off on Earth, moves to space, and eventually we find out that the humans have invaded this planet, referred to as Pandora, to gather resources there since Earth is running out. The main character, Jake Sully, is sent to help with the research of these creatures called the Navi. This is him depicted as one of them. He would later get attached to one of them. The humans planned on destroying the creatures, and Jake and a few of his friends refused to help the humans. Instead, they helped the creatures in this war. There were moments where he faced death protecting them, and with that, he proved that he could be integrated into their culture once and for all. Mise en scène in this film is phenomenal, mainly because of the different camera placement used by Cameron. Each one serves a different purpose in the film. In this close-up scene, where Natori is teaching Jake how to shoot a bow and arrow, shows that the two are slowly bonding together. This bond would play a huge role later as the movie progresses. Next is a close-up shot of Colonel Miles Courtridge with an arrow in his chest. The placement of this camera in this scene allows us to see the horrors in the colonel's eyes because of an because an arrow is poisonous and a shot to the chest is very fatal. It has the chance to end his life. The costumes in this movie are nothing too fancy. All they do is provide unity, which on the other hand, there are props which were a mixture of modern technology and possibly futuristic ones as well. In the scene where Jake and his crew of scientists disembarked from the helicopter in the background, it could be seen that the helicopter is in fact a helicopter slash plane hybrid. These small merges of simple objects make the movie unique and lets it set the standard for future films. For the soldiers, their uniform are all identical to each other to show uniformity, but in comparison to the uniforms worn in the real world, it looks slightly different. Props, on the other hand, are literally out of this world. They have robot suits controlled by a human by syncing their minds to the software, which can be seen in the background right here in this image. There are also oxygen masks to help them breathe in Pandora, since Pandora is filled with CO2, and that they can't breathe that. The weapons that the soldiers carry too will resemble some sort of submachine gun or assault rifles. On top of mise en scène, and there are also the editing aspects of the film, which is great for something made in 2009. It really set the bar high for competitive films in the sci-fi genre or just films in general. Something noticeable right off the bat would be the explosions during the battle scenes. For a non-Michael Bay movie, it actually does a great job with the amount of explosions. Having the floating islands and character creature noises are also very cool since it's something you don't see in every sci-fi movies. But but when the faster helicopters here fire their projectiles, it leaves a trail of smoke just following the path where the projectile was aimed at. The editing to make that happen was smooth, and you could hardly tell it was an edit. Moving on, when the forest was on fire from all the explosions, fire was everywhere. Real fire would have been hazardous for both the environment and the actors, so they were edited into the movie with the help of green screens. Means the fire itself looked realistic just in the way this weighed due to the wind and that were edited in. There were also small sparks that would flicker off from time to time, all all of which made it feel like you were actually in the movie itself. The creatures on Pandora, without it being said, it's very obvious that the creatures are fake. They look nothing like the cats and dogs in the real world. They have similar characteristics, but it's just like an alienated version, which are still cool because it adds that feeling that you're not in Kansas anymore. These creatures have more resemblance to extinct animals like the dinosaurs or even the saber-toothed tiger, which was what that big black cat in the previous image was. But regardless of that, without some sort of computer software to add in these creatures, the movie would have been very boring with no life in the forest. By adding in these animals, it brings life not only to the forest, but also allows interaction from species to species, showing a regular, healthy ecosystem. One big theme that the movie Avatar portrays is that environment is important. On Pandora, the Na'vi are seen as an indigenous-like tribe because of their weapons of choice, which were bows and arrows, unique language, and their connection to the environment around them. When the humans on Earth have become hungry for more resources, they find out that the resources on Pandora were considered sacred by those who lived there, so they wanted it. That's why it was. That's why they launched an attack. The Navi didn't retaliate for themselves or their family. In fact, they were fighting for was to protect their native land. The Navi's entire culture was molded by the land on which they live, and the humans were literally ripping it apart for the resources that they wanted. This could be compared to when the Americans were forcing the Native Americans out of their territory simply because the Americans wanted more land. Another theme that was in the movie was that love is inseparable. This is because Jake is a human and Neturi is a Navi. Both are completely different species and completely different galaxies. Jake is part of the Milky Way and Neturi is some sort of other galaxy near the Milky Way. Jake is also part of the human race, which were sent there simply because they wanted resources. So they wanted to eradicate the Navi. They don't even want them there because they're simply just an obstacle for them to fully obtaining every resource possible. And the Navi, they didn't want the humans there either because they knew what the humans were doing, and all of that just sort of contradicted each other. Because one side wanted the side gone, the other side wanted the other side gone. So really, they couldn't really be together. It was like another Romeo and Juliet sort deal. But in the end, they did make it happen, and it turns out to be a really romantic love story. The director James Cameron is known for his Terminator films and the Titanic. Crazy enough, he attended Fullerton College and Caltech College, not so far from where we are. His awards include the Ray Bradbury Award for Terminator 2: Judgment Day, and he received Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Film Editing, all for the Titanic. And in addition to this, he also won 3 Oscars. Cameron holds the distinction of directing 2 films that grossed over $2 billion worldwide. Those were the Titanic and of course this movie, Avatar. The film receives an A from me because the effects that it has are just so fantastic that it makes me awe that something so fantastic was able to be made and released for the general public to enjoy. It also makes the movie more alive and visually appealing for everybody of all ages to enjoy. That's it from me, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and take care. I'll see you guys next time.